Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. I mentioned on Wednesday's podcast that I've dialed back on the late night jokes. Now, here's a perfect example. The late night guys were talking about Kanye West being dropped by Adidas. Colbert had one joke that ended with, and I'm really paraphrasing here, to which I say, yay. But here's a full joke from Jimmy Kimmel. Again, I'm sure he told it better, but here's the joke. No one wants to work with Kanye. Even New Balance thinks he's unbalanced. That's awful. That's just awful. That's like an 8-year-old's joke. So I saw the guys at SmartLess had on Steve Carrell, and I listened to it. And part of my spidey sense is like, Johnny Mac, don't do this topic. You're not going to make any friends. You're going to regret doing this. But I've been thinking about this for a day or so. So Steve Carell's the guest. I'm excited about it. I hit play, and then I had a reaction to it. You could probably imagine what my reaction was. I'll talk about my reaction in a second. But I wanted to see if I was crazy. So I started Googling, and I wound up on the SmartLess Reddit. The general vibe I got from the Reddit was that others thought the Steve Carell interview was okay. Redditor Brady2Gronk wrote, the surprise element of the guest really hinders the interview. It's so painful to hear the guest wait as Jason pulls up the Wikipedia. I'd rather they just prep for the interview. Just John 8 said, agreed. The concept was interesting when the show was introduced, but now it leads to awkward conversations and the host feeling unprepared. Scrolling down the Reddit, a different post. Katy Perry was awful. But then that led me to somebody writing, does anyone in this sub actually enjoy the show? Well, so I listened to Steve Carell, and it was Steve Carell by the numbers. And part of the challenge for me, hold on, let me jump in here. This podcast is tremendously successful. They're number 6 on the charts. They got to deal with, I think it's Amazon. They got $1 zillion. They're famous. They're good looking. I'm a troll sitting in a basement talking about comedy news. So I totally get it. Let's make fun of me and not fun of SmartLess. But they're number 6 on the charts right now. So it's successful. I get it. It's super popular. I want to love it. I don't love it. I think if they were 3 regular dudes, people would say that podcast sucks. Part of the challenge, I think, is when it's 3 people hosting, you can't really get deep in an interview. Say what you want about Joe Rogan. He's having long conversations that are focused. You might not like the conversations, but Joe's heading somewhere most of the time. And when you have 3 people just jumping in and out, I don't know, I didn't feel like I got really anything out of Steve Carell. And I'll compare that to the Guy Raz interview with Stephen Colbert that I mentioned the other day that I thought was fantastic. So I don't come here to be a hater, but, at some point, this show, I got to share my opinions, and SmartLess is not for me. It's not for me. The Daily Beast caught up with Melissa Villaseñor. The headline, Melissa Villaseñor is living her best life after struggling on SNL. Wow. She's got a new book. It's called Whoops, I'm Awesome. The Daily Beast had Melissa on the Last Laugh podcast. She says, I almost feel reborn or something because I have all this free time. So I'm enrolling in classes almost like a little kid. I'm taking guitar lessons and Spanish lessons. I signed up for a pottery class. She explained she used to try to do this stuff in between seasons of SNL, but found it to be impossible. The Last Laugh said, when it was announced you were going to be on the show, every headline, including one that they wrote, was something like SNL hires first Latina cast members. Was there a lot of pressure? Melissa said, yeah, I didn't even think about it. Well, did you feel like some responsibility to represent? A little bit, like I was supposed to bring in a bunch of Mexican humor or something. At that time, I didn't really have a lot of it other than imitating my abuelita, my great-grandma. I didn't have a lot of bits about it until I think the last season where I did a character with Selena Gomez, and my character was loosely based on my Uncle Cesar. Let's head on over to Gossip Corner. Yahoo writes, if you're in the market for some conspiracy theories, there's plenty on Reddit that even a Swiftie may raise an eyebrow at. Okay, what is the topic? Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian. Some speculate the pair never actually broke up, and they were simply faking a split to dodge publicity around their relationship. Wouldn't that be amazing? Others think Pete Davidson has sent flowers as a friendly gesture between exes, and others think Kim Kardashian should just be allowed to enjoy her jasmine-scented candle in peace. In follow-up posts on her Instagram stories, Kardashian strategically placed products in front of the candle, so only the JAS part of the label is visible. Is that a clue? I love a good conspiracy, but I'm not sure what the conspiracy is here. A source tells Entertainment Tonight that the couple still keep in touch and things are good between them following their split in August. Kim, meanwhile, is trying to stay out of the current Kanye West kerfluffle. Don't blame her there. The AV Club caught up with Rob Riggle. I said yesterday I would tell you about working with Rob Riggle. So the first time I worked with Rob, he was a guest on, I know I'm being really loose with worked with. Spent half an hour with. It's not like we did a movie together. Anyway, Rob was supposed to be the guest on the midday show on the Raw Dog channel on Sirius XM, And the host was sick that day, and we didn't have a host. And then somehow, I forget whose idea it was, we just decided to have Riggle do it. So he hosted Comedy by Request, and Riggle was amazing. I mean, obviously, the guy's super talented, but boy, he was a radio pro. If he weren't somebody with a real career, I would have been like, you want to host the show every day? So I really enjoyed him then. And then a couple times over the years, I've had conversations in various roles about doing something together. Those never, ever panned out. But I always enjoy Rob Riggle, who spoke to the AV Club and said, when I was on The Daily Show, I shared an office with John Oliver. John was a big stand-up, very talented. I was not a stand-up. I was an improv sketch comedian. So I used to drag him down to UCB because I was a geographical bachelor at the time. And I was like, what's that? Rob explains, my wife and kids were living back in Kansas, and I was living in New York. Comedy Central didn't pay that much, so I was in this little studio apartment in the evenings. I didn't have anything to do other than have a burrito bowl at Chipotle and go back to my apartment, play PlayStation, and stay out of trouble. That sounds pretty awesome, actually. So I'd go down to the UCB most of the time and do sketch shows or whatever, but I said to John Oliver one time, come with me and just do monologues for Ass Cat. Ass Cat is one of the longest-running improv shows in the country. It'll be fun. John Oliver went down and he killed it. And then he said to Rob Riggle, well, now you've got to come with me to stand up. Riggle said, I hate stand up. I tried it when I first got here. It stinks. Oliver said, just come with me. And I wanted someone to hang out with in New York. And you could jump in a cab after work and hit like 5 open mics in a night. We were both single or geographical bachelors who had time to kill in the evening. So we'd go out and do it. And I remember it was like, hey, I don't have any material. Oliver said, just tell me a story. Has anything happened funny recently? Riggle, well, I almost killed myself this morning getting out of the shower. I got out and my foot hit the ground and I wiped out. Literally, my head almost hit the toilet. It was disgusting. Oliver said, tell that story. I ended up telling that story, and for a week I just kept telling that story and adding to it and coming up with different things and different details and embellishing it and heightening it. And it turned into a 2-minute bit. Riggle also talked about his time on The Office. Remember, he played the boat captain in an episode pretty early in the series run. It's a strong episode. Riggle said, especially in comedy, you have to have a really good script to start with. And there's always going to be some improv because you just find things in the moment you didn't know when you were sitting at a computer typing it up. When I did The Office, I was still very green. I didn't have much experience, but with regard to improv, I felt very comfortable. So if I threw out a suggestion or tried a different word or different look or had a different attitude or did something that might have been a little different from what was on the page, it was usually received pretty well, and I was given the green light to keep doing it. So I just felt really good about that. It was such a fun episode to shoot because we were out filming overnight. Normally when you film on a set, they get ready to move on to another scene or reset the cameras or whatever. Everybody takes a break. We were on a boat floating in the harbor, so there was nowhere to go. So when they had to reset cameras, we all just sat together in these booths and told stories and hung out. The whole cast, plus Amy Adams, was on that episode. Steve Carrell was there. And it was a really cool opportunity to sit around and talk, get to know each other, and have fun. And I remember laughing for many, many nights in a row when we were filming that. So for real, I tend to wake up in the middle of the night at least once and worry about every single thing in the world. And last night, I was feeling bad. I keep telling you about all these comedy specials, and, you know, I host this daily comedy news podcast and theoretically have some sort of expertise on the subject, but I keep telling you, I don't watch these specials. I've been on such a run of busy. Now, here's why. I'll cop to, I like football, so that's tied up Sunday night, Monday night, and Thursday night. That's on me. You can roll your eyes. Tuesday night, I got to drive my kid around. Wednesday, I like trivia. That only really leaves Friday and Saturday to watch these specials, and sometimes I go away on the weekend. So I'm really hoping to catch up this weekend. There's like 10, 11 of them now. Well, 11 now with Ian Lara. His special romantic comedy will be on HBO Max November 11th, which is not good timing, Ian Lara, because season 5 of The Crown comes out on November 9th. And I'll remind everybody, I'm the writer for a podcast called Palace Intrigue, where we talk about the royal family, and a new season of The Crown is kind of like the Super Bowl. I mean, being real, the death of Queen Elizabeth was the Super Bowl of Super Bowls, but putting that aside, The Crown's a pretty big deal, so I'm going to have to watch the entire season of The Crown pretty quickly so I know what to write about. And that's November 9th. Anyway, November 11th, romantic comedy. Ian Lara explores the lessons learned during the pandemic, including common problems of New Yorkers during travel, and offers some essential advice to avoid risky dating experiences. HBO Max, November 11th. Keenan Thompson, he just hosts the Emmys. Well, now he's going to host the People's Choice Awards for the second year in a row. This will be on NBC December 6th. All press releases come with statements. Keenan Thompson says, I'm beyond excited to host the People's Choice Awards again this year and celebrate the incredible talent and fans that this show unites. No chance a publicist wrote that and Keenan went, yeah, that's cool. No chance. He was also nominated for his work on SNL. I'm so grateful to be nominated. Shout out to the fans and congrats to all the nominees. Get ready for round 2. Keenan also shared that they're actually working on Good Burger 2. He said we had a reading, like a little private thing, just to hear the script that we've been working on. Just a couple of friends, a couple people from Paramount and Nickelodeon. It was so funny. Kel has not missed a step. It's like old slippers, and the character's just ripe for jokes. We read like over 100 pages and laughed the whole time. It was so much fun. The 2023 Traverse City Comedy Festival has announced 5 headliners for their inaugural event. Now you might be like, the Traverse City Comedy Festival, who could they possibly get? This is pretty good. Maria Bamford, Tom Papa, Dean Edwards, Jackie Kashian, and ISMO. We'll talk about ISMO in a second. Tickets go on sale Tuesday at tccomedyfest.com. The festival is in February. Now, ISMO, his bio calls him the most insightful comic in Finland. He made his debut in 2014 at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood, where he's won the title of the funniest person in the world. Sounds like a good festival. Another really good festival announced their lineup. Nashville Comedy Festival, April 15th to the 23rd. Pre-sale tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central. Really good lineup. Nate Bargatze, Leanne Morgan, David Spade, and Fortune Feimster. Very nice. And that is your comedy news for today. You can follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There's an audio-only version on YouTube. If you're going on YouTube and you're like, I want to see what Johnny Mac is wearing today, I'll tell you, I've got a pretty nice outfit on. I've actually combed my hair. I've got my nice Asics jacket that makes me look like a fat soccer coach. Got some nice blue jeans, and I'm actually wearing shoes for a change. That's pretty rare. And by shoes, I mean Skechers. I'm not Don Draper. See you tomorrow.